Yes, so let's try to conclude the day with the presentations of the briefing session. So I would like to invite the first group. Marco, can you please change the slide on the yeah, okay. So the first group from the first table. Okay, Sanda, please.
C'est moi la porte-parole, ou le porte-parole. Au féminin ou au masculin? La porte-parole, merci. Okay, so our group was dominated by a very young and enthusiastic French architect, so I speak loud. So since our group was dominated by young people, very fresh ideas and a lot of enthusiasm, our conclusions and our proposals are very idealistic. So let's share them with you. So the goal of the network, obviously, is to create a professional network where scientists from different countries, from different fields of research would exchange ideas about mining regions. It is a place for those who are found and attached of action-based research that will produce useful insight and info for policymakers and for all categories of stakeholders. So how can we contribute, each of us? We've been thinking about the relationship between the members of the network would be a co-petition. Sometimes, yes, scientists are in competition, but for the sake of the transition, for the success of this transition, we should cooperate and we should share tools, methodology, ideas, and good practices, and we should have an open source platform where we can share our work with everybody. How will the target group benefit of our work? So here we go big, you know, organizing seminars like this, but probably outside fancy cities like Venice. We should go straight to the regions that are going nowadays through the difficult transition, meet the locals, meet the stakeholders, and share our knowledge with them. We also have an idea about how we can combine our projects with Erasmus Plus and Erasmus projects. So for professionals and for students also. Maybe, you know, one idea that the French participants in the group thought of professionals going to do the research in the mining regions, but from my point of view, from l'autre côté d'Europe, I think that it would be really, really useful to offer more chances to young people, to students in, for example, Eastern European universities to go for Erasmus, but not in any university, but in other coal basins, coal regions. In, for example, a student from Petroșani, Romania, to go to Bochum, to open a bit more the idea and the perspective of how can the territory be transformed. So the impact of our work. So we aim, you know, to contribute to the better understanding of a local perspective and of cultural sensitivities, and to help locals when we meet them, you know, during the seminars like this, but in Petroșani or somewhere in Czech Republic, to help locals build more resilience, helping them to gain confidence that they will survive this process. And at the end of the day, what do we need to make this happen and to go on with this project? Well, of course, we count on EU funding, but also on the proactivity of each member, because it is important. Okay, probably we can access some EU funding, but each member of the network has to be involved, engaged, and proactive in sharing the knowledge. We also think it will be necessary to make an inventory of all university agreements at EU level, but also between continents. And I think that there are agreements like Erasmus between university in the European Union and North America and Asia and so on, because all the knowledge in the world is necessary to make this transition as smooth as possible. So we believe in our role as observers and educators. Thank you very much. Is it good?
Thank you very much. Can I have your notes? Yeah, I'm not sure I will be able to read it, but okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Sandra. So the next group, the table 2, who is presenting for this table? Johannes? Okay, he's not here, so maybe we can skip to another one. He's away. Okay, so let's move to the table 3. It's Christina. Yes. Okay, but just start and then he will come back. You want to present Johannes right now? It's possible in French. Okay. You can. I will translate if you want.
Est-ce que vous pouvez afficher? Tu as les notes. Oui, tu dis. Pour la première question, quel est l'objectif du réseau? Bon, on a parlé largement. Okay. Bon, on s'est dit que à partir de ce qu'on a vu, ce qu'on a regardé aujourd'hui, des différentes expériences, ce qu'on pourrait proposer, c'est de trouver des catégoriser les différents types de territoires post-miniers ou miniers pour penser à des possibles lignes d'intervention ou des méthodologies, c'est-à-dire pouvoir synthétiser des formes d'intervention. C'est là, et aussi, est-ce qu'on propose faire de research by design ou bien comment est-ce qu'on pourrait proposer du passage à l'acte, c'est-à-dire comment est-ce que toutes ces recherches, toutes ces expériences académiques, on pourrait les passer à des actions concrètes, matérialisées sur les territoires. Et puis là, on se disait, quels sont les liens entre la recherche et les acteurs locaux et aussi les acteurs techniques en tant que concepteurs, architectes de paysage, urbanistes, géographes, sociologues, voilà.
Should I just summarize quickly?
Okay.
So, well, we were really talking about this idea of how to transform all this research, all this knowledge and different methodologies into action. And so, yeah, how to make the connections between the different participants. And I should just we also this idea of kind of making an inventory, categorizing the different kinds of territories and the different kinds of actions and research that are happening in the different territories, and making all this kind of visible in an inventory, and kind of making categories and classifying the different places and activities that are going on.
Yes. So, la deuxième, comment chaque membre peut contribuer, quelles activités pourront être interprétées au sein du réseau, quels résultats sont attendus. Et là, bon, on s'est parlé que les principales contributions, c'est depuis la diversité et comment est-ce qu'on pourrait articuler les différentes connaissances entre plutôt les chercheurs, les personnes qui font de la recherche et ceux qui font les projets. Parce que des fois, moi, je sens perso qu'il y a un décrochage qui sont entre ce qui est l'académie. Et puis, là, par exemple, pour moi, j'ai vu ça. la recherche, les choses que j'essayais de faire. Et puis, pour mon travail, je sens qu'il y a du mal à trouver les liens. Donc là, ça pourrait être quelque chose qui pourrait contribuer le réseau. Après, hein? Oui, mais j'ai des travails académiques avec des travails, disons, des pratiques d'architecte de dessiner des salles de bain. Je ne sais plus qu'il apporte là 120 cm, pas 90, des choses comme ça.
Mais oui, c'est la question. It's the subject that always comes up is how to make those connections, and yeah.
Pour ça, c'est aussi promouvoir des actions pour matérialiser la recherche, c'est-à-dire comment est-ce qu'on interdit tout ça, contribuer avec des fonds, ou chercher plutôt des fonds pour matérialiser ces projets, pour appeler sur échelle, pas forcément un projet pour un bassin complet, pour revitaliser un paysage dégradé.
We talked about two possible concrete ideas. One, maybe having a place, a physical space that can be a place to test materials if there's new kind of economical sectors being, for example, that Dominique was talking about, encouraging green building techniques. Could we create a center where these new materials can be tested by architects, but also by students, by local people? And also the idea of maybe creating a bibliotheque, a library of all the resources. There's films that we've heard about today. There's books, there's articles, maybe as well as a kind of a set of academic papers, having a wider kind of range of literature that can be read by people who aren't necessarily professionals.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm into the micro. Sorry.
Yeah. But that's maybe
going on.
The 4-1 question.
Maybe jumped into the 4-1.
Quels résultats sont attendus? Faire évoluer les a priori des habitants et des territoires vers les professionnels. C'est-à-dire comment est-ce que les habitants pouvons avoir certaines connaissances de base, que ça ne reste pas juste pour un réseau des professionnels qui sont ciblés sur ces sujets-là. C'est-à-dire un peu comment est-ce qu'on pourrait transversaliser ou bien démocratiser la connaissance vers les personnes qui habitent ces territoires en question. C'est pour ça, on passe là à la quatrième, qui c'est, comme on disait, de comment est-ce qu'on pourrait expérimenter dans les territoires des espaces pour que les gens puissent trouver et qu'ils aussi puissent avoir accès à toutes ces connaissances. C'est peut-être une espèce de médiathèque, comme ça c'est un peu, comment dire, un lien un peu par tout le monde, mais aussi avec un espace physique. Bon, comment est-ce que les groupes cibles, bon, pour la quatrième aussi, ça pourrait permettre de connaître des autres expériences, des projets qui ont été déjà faits ailleurs, pour voir qu'il y a des possibilités pour changer les espaces de vie.
Showing the projects that have already been made, making people see the kind of what's possible, what can be possible through concrete examples.
Yeah. Bon. Quel impact l'innovation pour votre territoire peut-être attend grâce au réseau? Bon, pour moi, personnellement, c'était de voir des autres exemples. Parce que, bon, moi, j'ai travaillé sur ces projets-là longtemps, mais moi, je me disais à certains moments, en Amérique du Sud, il n'y a pas des expériences pareilles. Donc, par exemple, avec les projets au nord de France, j'ai vu qu'il y a des possibilités, il y a des projets qui sont déjà mis en place. Donc, il y a des options. Ce n'est pas que ça reste des idées ou bien des utopies. Ça, c'est personnel.
So focusing on the kind of the possibilities for international exchange between very different geographical areas and experiences. So, yeah, experience in Europe isn't necessarily the same as in South America, but finding ways to share those different experiences.
Yeah. Pour la dernière, bon, comment est-ce que vous imaginez, comment imaginez-vous la continuité du réseau? Bon, plutôt faire des partenariats entre différentes universités ou groupes de chercheurs, laboratoires qui pourront s'intéresser à ce sujet-là. Et ça a été dit aussi de chercher ou postuler des fonds, par exemple des fonds européens ou des différents fonds à trouver. Et puis, pour finir, c'est que ça ne reste pas juste en Europe, parce que moi, je connais des autres expériences en Amérique du Sud qui s'intéressent à ce genre de sujets. Donc, pour élargir, ça rentre aussi pour faire des partenariats, parce qu'il y a des étudiants, par exemple, c'est lycées en Afrique ou bien en Amérique du Sud, même en Asie, où il y a toujours les zones de extraction. Donc, pour faire des réseaux avec eux qui sont là avec la recherche, qui puissent voir des possibilités pour des fermetures à les zones minières ou des possibilités des projets, ça pourrait être quelque chose de très intéressant pour donner continuité au réseau.
So yeah, the development of partnerships, and in particular with wider, across the world with other geographical regions, like South America, Africa.
Oui, pour donner un peu un exemple sur ça, il y a Joan Martinez-Allier qui a écrit L'écologie des pauvres. Lui, il a fait, il s'appelle Atlas for Spatial Justice. C'est un interface Internet où lui, avec la coopération des différentes personnes par tout le monde, a construit, a fait une cartographie des différents conflits par tout le monde et des différents sujets. Donc, il a fait une catégorisation des différents conflits, quel est l'état des conflits. C'est une cartographie, c'est juste une interface en Internet. Bon, il y a toute une recherche là-dessus, mais c'est un peu comme l'image qui me vient en tête. Atlas for Spatial Justice. C'est Joan Martinez-Allier, c'est un espagnol.
So it's an atlas that kind of, it's like an inventory of all the different conflict zones in the world, and then kind of trying to order them and make sense of them and say that what are these conflicts about and why are they happening, to so that the knowledge and the information that's linked to them can be used and maybe applied elsewhere and to help people in the end. So it's kind of
OK.
c'est
tout, it's all.
peut-être moins
Thanks.
clair que le premier, mais
Okay, so maybe we can continue with the Zoom group. I think it's Orit.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be the spokesperson. Please, anyone in the group, if I don't present us correctly, please tell us.
Orit, sorry to
Can you
interrupt
hear
you.
me?
Can you speak slow?
Okay.
You know, it's the end of the day and we are tired, so we are not
Non, je
really...
comprends, oui, je parle très vite, c'est mon habitude, pardonnez-moi. Et pardonnez-moi parce que mon français est très mauvais, so je continuerai en anglais, otherwise this will take all day. So our group had a lot of really interesting conversations. I think that one of the first things that came up was actually that the goal of the network, at least from our perspective, would be interesting if it was planetary in scale, which is to say that it really had a focus just jumping off of what the previous group presented, that it actually looked at different regions in the world and actually looked at the difference. And a big theme that came up was the fact that perhaps we're not even talking about a post-mining network. We're actually maybe talking more because the mining is continuing and it's going on all over the world. And for most of the world, for many places, the situation is an ongoing, an existing one. And that actually, perhaps what we're talking about a bit is about the kind of imagination of living in a post-extractionary landscape. What would it mean for us to have to envision a world where we challenge the kind of mode of extraction that we're seeing in a lot of the mining regions, particularly around the world. So I think there's a question of sort of the post-extractionary imaginary, and that our network would be kind of dedicated to both dealing with mining as an existing condition and how people live in toxic environments and how they will live in the future. How do we envision that? So I think that was a really big point, and that we should be thinking planetary and comparatively in terms of everything, in terms of the relationship and what the network's conversation should be about. In terms of what we thought we can contribute, the ideas, I think, also echo what you've just heard. There's a lot of discussion about what we can contribute is sort of design as research, like bringing together data visualization, designers, people who, architects with sociologists and anthropologists and humanities people, as well as with geoengineers and scientists, to again be thinking about how to manage these environments and exist inside of them. One of the things we thought as an outcome and next steps, we thought, one, it would be really helpful to have future meetings, to collate a list of participants, and then to kind of move forward. For us, we were thinking really in terms of starting to create both web and maybe, edited volumes that showcase the kind of work that all the groups in this network are doing, particularly around reclamation, remediation, and the changing types, the way technology is changing the extraction industry. We're particularly interested in maybe building up atlases, toolkits, giving people kind of case study oriented examples of possible things that they can do. There was kind of an interest in also creating a kind of module or ways of thinking about how we can compare and contrast different cases in terms of kind of getting ideas about best practices, as well as how to understand the differences between different regions and sites, and also trying to understand their commonalities. So there's a real kind of idea of building up this kind of toolkit and case studies, and thinking about that in terms of a kind of planetary mode. And then finally, there was discussion about education and pedagogy, like developing tools also for training, not only architects and designers, but also maybe also scientists, sociologists, and anthropologists, so that there's kind of a shared conversation going on, and kind of we can engage in different questions, whether it's circular economy or how to deal with toxicity in the future, or how to kind of think about what to do in the afterlives once the industry leaves. So a lot of discussions around that. So that was kind of basically what we thought as a resource. We need a series of conversations. And it would really be nice to start kind of collating or putting together, trying to put together edited volumes and maybe kind of web-based services that begin to kind of collate the cases that people are working on, and start thinking in terms of building up vocabularies, glossaries, concepts for how to think about extractionary landscapes in new terms and in mind with the future. And finally, there were a couple shared concerns. The first one was, how do we think at scale? Again, how do we think comparatively? And then there was kind of a question also about, how do we think locally? How do we think with communities and local and situated and specific histories and stories? So how do we both create these comparative global frameworks, but also really think about including communities into participatory design and into the planning and management of the sites that they live in and around. So that was a final thing that really came up in our conversation. So that's it. I think, does anyone have anything else to contribute?
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you very much for it. So we can move to the third table, which is presented by Christina.
Should be working now. Okay. So I'm reporting for table number 3. So for the first question, what is the goal of the network? We identify the fact that this network should be an added value to us. It should have to help us share and enrich our experiences. It should bridge the gap between theory and research and hands-on practice. It should help to exploit also our differences and learn from each other. It should make us stronger together, especially in accessing funding, but also as an intellectual capital. It should ensure the transmission, and it should also help us meet in different ways. The second question, how can each member contribute? We thought each member can contribute through comparative analysis and assessment of different study cases, through specific insights that one can give on other case studies, through sharing administrative tools or process mapping or transferability. And the activities that can help would be different disseminating activities like this in different regions. And the results would be to create more references and maybe a collection of case studies. So how can the target group can benefit from the network? We identified different types of target groups. The community stakeholders, elected people, faculty, and we consider that these target groups can benefit through gaining accountabilities, through strengthening their initiatives, by being part of something, being part of a bigger picture, and in this sense, getting a sense of belonging, capacity building, and motivation for different communities. The target group can also feel like they make a difference, like they count, and maybe it can restore a sense of pride in different affected communities by the end of mining. Oh yes, and also one of the important benefit would be to encourage the undertaking of experience and, let's say, experimental approaches. In short, building up confidence and trust, and to help also adapt to macro level changes. For the fourth question, what impact or innovation for your territory can be reached thanks to the network? We think that one of the most important impact is to be seen, and also what we identified as the politics of possibility. Also to have a neutral platform to solve our problems, and in a way, some strengthening food for thought and for discussion, and maybe to feel less alone on each type of mining territory, and to build a constructive atmosphere, and also to promote different mining regions. And all in all, in a way to replace competition through collaboration. And for the last point, how do we see the continuity of the network and what will be need to be done. We believe that it is quite important to define a core team with a very clear diagram of responsibilities, and then also an open system for every other network, every other mining areas who wish to join. In order to do that, we think that we should establish very clear objectives and aims, and we also need and we also need short, mid, and long-term objectives and an agenda. And we need to be transparent and visible, and basically also we need to have a sort of a clear written manifesto that can be communicated through the participants' faculties in order to convince them why it would be useful to join this network. And I think I covered all, but if I forgot something, please just let me know. Or
Thank you very much. It was very, very complete. And also to say that we need someone to organize, to coordinate. So we need money because a network is alive if you enrich it, nourish it. And each member, each of us doesn't have the time to give to this job of coordination. And that's the means, resources.
and financing.
And we already started, you know. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thank you, Christina and Catherine. So let's move to the fourth group. It's Marie and Melzine that will present.
Okay, maybe a lot have already been said, and also a lot of what we have found. So we will be really synthesizes. And also we didn't really did the exercise. We do two different questions, sorry. We did the goals and also a lot of ideas to reach it. Okay. So about the goals, in general, we think that the chair could help us to share knowledge and skills, to find times and space to mutualize our experiences, our tools, etc. So between experts, but also maybe between with inhabitants, yeah, and also with students to demultiply the workforce. And another goal for us is about transmission. So to raise the consciousness and the awareness about the situations in post-mining territories, to let also people know the value of their own heritage, because it's not the case for the moment, yeah. And also with, yeah, pedagogical goals. And the last one is to have more visibility and funds for research projects, etc., but also maybe to support inhabitant initiatives, like support an experimental project that people valued or want to work on. And yeah, yeah, why not?
Yeah, we also talked about or discussed about the idea of a platform, like a digital platform for the whole network, could be something like a next step. And we think that it would be good to adapt to the fact that Melzine talked about, to create the consciousness that we have a lot of territories all over the world. So, and also to classify the differences, like, for example, we talked about the different scales, the different issues, or also the different states. For example, we don't only have post-mining, we have still mining, if we can say it like this. We have transformation areas. So this could be something to have a platform where you identify and classify the differences, but also to show the common aspects and to compare the different territories. And this would be something like an exchange for experts, but the reference to refer to the inhabitants, which is quite important, would be something we talked about of the experts with their own projects. For example, Larissa, who said she works with a lot of participation, and that would be something that would come into the platform like this, and also to maybe create a new thinking about terms that I always use, for example, innovation, but what is really innovation, and then to have something, so that could, that is a platform that is possible for all the people to share the knowledge.
And also maybe, two little things about the ideas. Maybe we can each year visit a new place of mining, post-mining territories, and come all together to think on a focus project or I don't know, think. But to discover a new place everywhere, every year, sorry. And the last one, so it's really an idea. I don't know if the chair can do that, but we thought that it could be interesting to make calls for projects. I'm not sure about the English words, appel à projet, to create them, to maybe support inhabitant initiatives, like they can go through us, not through us, I don't know, but they can come to see us and say, okay, we have an initiative, and if we can make it with an experience in the share, it could be interesting to kind of support them, and it serves us to experiment new architectural way of post-mining. I'm not sure it's very clear, but
maybe it's also this part of this question of innovation, that maybe the innovation is not only found in technologies, it can be found in the inhabitants, for example, by being innovative for some new projects.
Okay.
Because the outcome out of these roundtables was really fruitful and rich. Is there a possibility to have a kind of summary from the different reporters in a written way? Because I know about the problem. Now we are really convinced these are different aspects and so on. And at the end, a lot of information gets lost, because I was really impressed by the outcome out of our workshop, or out of our roundtable, but out of the summary of the different representatives. So it would be great if we have a written document with this kind of summary.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we will send it, of course, to everyone, but maybe it will be also interesting that each person that presented the working groups can send me also the summary of everything that was said.
This was my announcement.
So it really
not that
will
you
help.
have to do this, but
because I took some notes, but it's not complete for sure. So thank you.
We are lucky we have Margarita working with us until the end of September. October. So that's fine. So.
And my second question is, it's really an interesting initiative, founding this international network. And is there, let's say, a fundamental basis of money, of support yeah, to look forward for the next step and to define a little bit more the construction.
Yeah. The next step could be to answer a call altogether,
Yeah.
like European or Erasmus or something like that. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the idea of what Margarita presented before. Yeah. But for that, we need to see what we have in common, what we have to share, and what we want to share, and what subject we want to. Because when you answer a call, you know, you need to write things, objectives, and the program, and things like that.
Yeah, this was a point what Christina announced from our summary, that we need a kind of common understanding, a kind of manifesto. So what are our goals, our issue, and what is our understanding? Yeah, and then we need this formal construction. Who is participating in this kind of network, and what is the role of the different participants?
I think that if we will submit a European project together, that will also help us to understand it, because when you answer to European project, you have to clearly state who you are, why you are here, what are you doing, what do you want to do, what is your goal, etc.
Yeah,
So
and you have to announce the program you have,
Yeah.
and the construction,
Yeah.
and therefore
What
we
do
will,
do
yeah,
precisely?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we will move to the last group, the fifth, who is presenting. It's Martin. Okay.
So a lot was said. We didn't really answer the question either. So and a lot of was already said. So maybe I'm just gonna talk about two things we thought maybe it would be interesting to do. Everybody agreed that it was like very interesting to see like you know, all the different situations and experiments which were made in every part of the world, and we were thinking of a way of like kind of enhance this diversity, like to highlight it. And we thought maybe we could do. Some people were also a bit frustrated that the whole like meeting was only in English, and sometimes with difficulties to translate, understand like the real meaning of words and everything. So we thought maybe one publication this global network could do would be to create a kind of dictionary with all the words around the mining environment. I don't know, all the words about mining work, about mining architecture, also what we say about like repairing or I don't know, like living things, all the vocabulary we used today, and to translate it in every languages, and to have a kind of dictionary with all these different language and different words translated. And so maybe it would help us to sometimes understand each other a bit better, and it would be like I think a very simple publication that we could do, and that could say, okay, now we exist, and it's a network, and we are together, and we don't only speak English because we are part of different countries. And the second one was about how we could imagine like a day like this next year, or I don't know, in 2 years, if there would be like another way to organize this event. And we were thinking it would be interesting maybe to, as Melusine said, to be on site, not like in Venezia, but and to change maybe every 2 years or something like that, to change countries, and to have like a kind of case study every year with like local technicians, local professionals, projects which are designed like really on site and everything. And yeah, to can do a kind of promenade in this sites, and then to discuss about it, and yeah, to see also maybe like what inhabitants they have to tell us what the students have been working on. So yeah, to have like kind of a bit like the Biennale is doing, but Biennale in Venezia, but about mining cities. Yeah, that's it. And I think, yeah.
Maybe about like the thing with the 2 years. I think 2 years a little bit too long, like, because I think once a year is great because you have a rhythm, and because it's not I think it shouldn't be because you compared it with the Biennale, and the Biennale is something for the exhibition, but we want to create something, and at least I have the feeling once a year by person, and in between as well digital, to organize every year to come forward, right? I think that, but in general, I think it's a good one, but I'm just thinking about the format.
One last thing I wanted to add. So yeah, about the temporality, maybe it's important, yeah, to meet often. But I was thinking also, we were speaking about that with Subra, that we had people from Europe, we had people from America, South America, North America, and we had nobody from Asia, from Africa, from Australia too. And yeah, for example, in India, in China, there are like also huge mines which are still. Okay. Yeah, and we were thinking it's interesting because it asks question also, like if for example, if you speak about like digitalization and using of high text and everything, we know that it generates quite a lot of construction of new mines, like in China for materials and everything. And if we speak about like how we can repair some I don't know, mining areas in Canada, for example, with this those technologies, what does it create like in some other parts of the world? I think it's interesting to think about that.
Thank you very much, Milton. Any other reactions to this? Yeah.
At the other end, I can remember that we also said that perhaps we had to make choices because it's the question, but difference, because is the only point that we are all mining territories makes that we can effectively work together. For example, I think there are huge differences between the territories with inhabitants and the territories with no inhabitants. The mining still in function and the mining is over. And so perhaps we'll have to make choices. I don't know, but en français, on dit qui trop embrasse mal étreint.
Thank you, Raphaël.
Yeah, I was trying today to note what we have in common and what's different, and that's in the same way, you know. Maybe what we have in common is ground that have been transformed and abused, and environmental problems, issues in terms of water and pollution, but we have risk and memory, heritage in terms of landscape, at least, and abandoned places and industrial infrastructure. But then we have many differences, like how much people still live in these places, and how many people remember what was mining, and how many buildings are still used, houses and equipment, neighborhoods, and what's the distance to towns and cities, and what's the relationship to agriculture, to rurality, to nature, and what kind of things that could be, and like the mines, open sites, or underground galleries, and that's all. That's the thing that makes that the conditions for making projects are so different. You know, if you think that the reason for this network will be to think of how we make projects, how we transform, since we are all designers in our ways, you know, and stakeholders or practitioners or researchers, what we're interested in is the future of these territories, even if they are not post-mining yet, when it could be still mining, but extracting, but they can start thinking of how it would be to stop and what they would do with the territory. So, but the conditions for transforming the sites, yeah, they make big differences. Yeah. Well, we have many ideas, a lot of things, and what can we say?
Yeah, sorry, because you inspired me to think a little bit further. We have a new master program at our university, which is called Transforming City Regions. And within this program, we were always looking for interesting sites where the international students can work on. So it could be a possibility to use this capacity of students to develop ideas on the sites we selected together, for example. And you give some inputs or introductions to the students. This would be, let's say, a pragmatical manner to combine teaching and our activities without money. Yeah. Without using a lot of money. It's just a suggestion. Huh?
In the same way, in our group, we speak about the idea to make a competition for students in the same time that the competition for the city garden of the 21st century by professionals, but to have a kind of way to reflection for students. It's not the same approach, but it's an approach, a different approach, and I think it's useful to have the two approaches, like in Europan or this kind of project.
Yeah, I will just conclude very quickly. I wanted just to say thank you to everyone to participate. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, but also without Beatrice, which is the, you know, the initial idea is what the Beatrice idea. So, yeah. So, yeah, thank you, Beatrice. Thank you, European Cultural Center, to hosting us and to giving us the possibility to make this happen. Hadi, which is over there, and he didn't speak today, but he made a great job to make everything happen. Thank you. And his colleague, Sophia, which is not here. I think she's left. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you, Hadi. All the team technicians, Marco, Timur. Yeah. Ruth for translation. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will not thank you to everyone, of course. I just want to say that we will publish the seminar proceedings. So I already sent to all of you, I think, the call for papers. Yes. So do not hesitate to answer. Yeah. The deadline is the 5th of October. And that's all. We invite you to go and drink something together in the bar here, close to here. 15, yeah. Okay, thank you and have a nice evening.